Jesse Jaded. This is the time I dated Jesse Jaded from Austin, Texas. I'm here with Austin's very own Mother Falcon. I had the pleasure of seeing Mother Falcon play at the Presbyterian Church that we're standing in front of currently. And after a riveting introduction, this instrumental, incredible sound, and my mouth's agape, I'm in awe. Nick, the cellist, starts singing. What concentration it must take to sing and play cello at the same time.
Just talk to him. He's playing accordion. I think he plays like 10 babies.
And then Claire's beautiful voice underlying this enchanting rhythm and melody played by Tamir and Matt and Young Dew and Laura and Scott and everyone else. And the hills are alive with the sound of music. It's Mother fucking Falcon. There's something very romantic.
Man, you gotta start writing our stuff. It's so much better than anything we could ever say.
Something very romantic about your guys' music. Would you categorize it as romantic sounding?
I mean, it's the music of our, oh god, it's not cheesy, but music of our, I guess, our dreams and our escape and sort of everything we find solace in. So whatever that is in a way, right?
It's whatever you want it to be.
Yeah. I don't know.
Tamir, what is bouzouki?
Bouzouki is a Greek stringed instrument that's one whole octave lower than a mandolin. So it's kind of like the Big Papa of mandolins, but it just has a really cool, twangy sound in its lower octave that offers a unique stringed sound to a lot of our songs.
You've been cited as having influences from Bach to Biggie to John Steinbeck. How has literature influenced your music?
Literature, it's sort of like music in the sense that both are these intense moments of escape, whether the writer is sort of exploring emotions or exploring some kind of catastrophe or happiness. And both, I don't know, we find a lot of books sort of like do better justice than I could ever do in sort of finding some feelings that I find really sort of coherent, and then through sort of the book and then with music we sort of capture that. I don't know, Faint Green Lights from The Great Gatsby, or comes from The Great Gatsby, sort of about that longing of love or longing of sort of something of loss, and then sort of the end longing of loss instead of longing of anything else really. And then a few other, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
I mean, literature offers themes, cohesive themes that allow us to kind of expand and add our own interpretation to them. And I mean, if movies adapt, literature, then I think music should as well, and they're in its own sort of unique interpretation of it.
So you guys met in college and started playing together there. What's the best essay, most interesting essay you've ever written in college?
I wrote I'm a photographer. Actually, all of us are. Music, in a way, is sort of a catharsis. It's a release for all of us. So in college, I think a majority of the band studies something other than music, which makes for whenever we play it be that much more exciting because it's a release, it's a break. But in college, I study photography, English, and the Middle East. And the most interesting essay I've ever written is a 20-page paper on the poetics of photography and how both photography and poetry organize chaos out of the abstraction of language. So it was a lot of fun to explore the poetic nature of my intended career, and also kind of think about how other forms of art interweave out of abstraction.
Blizzard questions. Jethro Tull or Rush?
Rush.
Probably, well,
Rush.
Jethro Tull's got the crazy freak
Yeah,
out
Rush
with the one
played
hat.
with all those washing machines, right?
What?
Didn't it? That was Rush, right? No, they had washing machines on stage,
Doing
and
what?
they were like just churning.
Portishead or Sonic Youth?
Sonic Youth.
Sonic Youth.
Serge Gainsbourg or Elvis?
Elvis.
I feel like as an American, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
American.
nobody's shaken their hips like that since Elvis.
Yeah.
Except for Forrest Gump.
It's true.
So, a year ago, I guess, we played here. We released our EP, and then during the summer, we recorded our first full-length album here, and then we released it again a month ago, last February here. So Central Pres is sort of like our home base in downtown Austin.
Yeah, last 2 South by Southwests ago, a lot of us came here and saw Grizzly Bear. And that was I had just moved to Austin. I was there for less than a year from Maryland. And seeing music in a church, especially a church as beautiful as this one, was quite extraordinary. And I never thought I'd be seeing a band like that in a church with a capacity of 500. And so we just started thinking about how wild it would be to showcase our sound, which doesn't fit very well into many venues just because they're not designed acoustically to be able to support a orchestra. They're designed for rock bands and really loud music. So we figured that in order to, the church would be the best place to have people really listen to the music and all the subtleties of it, of which there are many, as the nature of orchestras go. And so that's how we ended up releasing our first EP here. As we just inquired because we were curious. And since then, it's always sort of been this really incredible space, this very reverential space for music that we feel very comfortable in. When we recorded our LP, we did it in 3 days. We had some of the best engineers in Austin from Tequila Mockingbird Studios bring their huge 48-channel mobile rig, and we set up tons of microphones all over the church, not just close miking the instruments, but just a little bit away from the band, and then in different places within the room itself to be able to capture the atmosphere and the ambiance and the wood in the ceiling expanding and contracting and cracking and during the summer's heat. Yeah, there was an article in CNN that came out during South by Southwest, and I believe the headline was "Where Would Jesus Rock?" And it was about Central Presbyterian Church and the fact that they opened their doors to music of all sorts, ranging from us to rock bands to experimental classical artists. And I don't know if this has happened, but I'm sure it either has or will, but I'm sure there's been some form of electronic or hip hop. But
If not, we'll bring it. So.
Yeah, but I mean, Central Presbyterian Church is really sort of a capstone venue now in the Austin community because they're so willing to share and explore new avenues of music.
In your youth, did you have an experience or afterwards you knew you had to be a musician? And if you did, what was it?
I mean, there was this one situation relatively recently where we were supposed to play for a person who had terminal cancer, and they passed away before we were able to play, but for a certain amount of time I had met with friends of theirs and had sort of talked with them about, in general, just like life. And then, because, when someone's so close to the edge, sort of your whole life is from the perspective. And one of the things I realized during these discussions was that sort of how silly a lot of things are, but how important things like music and sort of like these moments that like completely subjectiveness of humanity, because essentially we have no reason to live other than to mate and then pass away. But music in that sense sort of ties in every sort of string of life into one thing. And I realized that when sort of dealing with these people on the very edge. So that's when I realized the power of music and sort of my love for it.
Lovely. Should we do the Claire clap to exit?
You're still in frame, Matt.
What song makes you chipper upon every listen?
Roses by Outkast. I really like that song.
All Star by Smash Mouth makes me happy every time I listen to it.
Classic.
I think Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. I grew up listening to Beatles and Stones and the Beach Boys, and Pet Sounds kicks a whole lot of ass.
Sowing the seeds of love, guys. Thanks for the interview. Would you guys go on another date with Jesse Jaded?
Yes.
He wouldn't even have to pay for dinner.
2 for 1, Wednesdays nights at Huts.
The time I dated Jesse Jaded, Austin, Texas.